The pull of Tangaroa is always strong.
It's part of our culture, it's part of our tikanga, who we are, particularly in Ngāti Porou. Our stories, our ancestors, Paike, Maori, they were all water people.
But Māori continue to have high drowning fatalities, with almost 1 in 4 deaths this year.
Me and my dad, we kind of kept drifting and we kept drifting out to sea. It was definitely a terrifying experience, like a life and death situation.
The Ngati Porou Surf Lifesaving Club is raising water safety awareness and continuing the Māori revival on the water in Te Tairāwhiti.
Seeing more of us Māoris back out on there, seeing kids paddling down the coast, sailing down the coast, that's the vision.
Ngāti Porou Surf Lifesaver Pete Boyd is preparing for another busy summer here in Te Tairāwhiti.
See how Brad Pitt does it, eh?
He still remembers the first time he was asked to be a lifeguard.
I actually hurt my back through surfing, lying down on the board and then playing basketball, and so I started swimming one day and a guy asked me if I'd be interested in becoming a lifeguard, and I said, yeah, why not?
35 years later and Pete's still going strong. In 2015, he turned his attention to setting up the Ngāti Porou Surf Lifesaving Club.
What's my role at the surf club? Jack of all trades. That's what happens when you start a surf club.
The club patrols remote beaches along the east coast during summer.
Ngāti Porou Surf Lifesaving is about a service. It's a voluntary service where you're protecting people that are going into the sea. You're looking after, that's that kaitiakitanga.
Although the club is still young, it's already making a big difference in the community.
We're the 75th club in New Zealand. We're only 5 years old, coming up 6 years old. But in that time, we've qualified about 60 guards from Rotorua, from Gisborne, from Hicks Bay, from Tangaroa.
Pete not only wants to pass on his surf life-saving skills, but to draw more Māori to the profession.
Because surf lifesaving is seen as predominantly a Pākehā activity, but for me, no, it's not. It was what our tipuna's done. It was like what Paike had done. It was what Maui done. They were ocean people. They were the original lifeguards.
Paikea's karakia is an ancient call. It's one Paikea recited when he ran into trouble swimming from Hawaii to Aotearoa.
Such lines as whakakau whakakau he tupua, whakakau whakakau he taniwha, whakakau whakakau he tangata. Those lines there are telling us about the well-being, the safety of that spirit, of that person who has entered that seascape. Yeah.
Pete's sister, Georgina Kerekere, is building this tikana and mātauranga into the club.
How important was it for you to pass this mātauranga on to the next generation?
That's what we're trying to do here through the Surf Lifesaving Club, is bring its unique parautanga into the club, through whakapapa, through kōrero of old, through the utilisation of those narratives to breathe life, to give life to those members who come into the club.
The club is also working hard to change attitudes towards the moana in Māori communities. In the past 10 years, Māori have had the second highest ethnic fatal drowning rate.
Why was it important for you to raise water safety awareness here in Te Tairāwhiti?
So when people have first aid skills, when people learn safety skills, all those skills will just go back into these smaller communities. So absolutely, their strength, the builders for these smaller East Coast and rural communities. Having people with these first responder skills is critical.
This year, Māori have made up 1 in 4 drowning deaths, the second highest ethnic group to Pākehā. And for Paura Rōpiha and his whānau, this almost became a reality after he and his father got lost out at sea in what became a battle for survival.
In September, Paura, his dad and little brother, kayaked out to a reef to collect kaimoana at Turihawa Beach, north of Gisborne.
The sea was beautiful, it was flat, there was no wind, the sun was shining, it was just a beautiful day. It was just hard to imagine how the sea was that afternoon.
When did you start to realise you were in trouble?
Probably within half an hour, the anchor for our kayaks had pulled away, for our 3 kayaks that we had anchored, and started drifting out to sea.
On that day, the wind whipped up to 100 kilometres and Paura's dad was swept 10 kilometres out to sea. Paura fell out of his kayak and was left clinging for life in raging waters.
So I had my hui with Tangaroa, so did Dad, and I think it's just made me more self-aware when coming to the moana.
Paura did live to tell his story of survival after he and his dad were winched to safety by the Coast Guard. And he knows how lucky he is to still be alive.
I guess if you had one message for whānau who are out on the waters, what is that message?
Definitely check the forecast and invest in some proper safety gear.
Pete knows collecting kaimoana is an important part of life here on the East Coast, but he sees whānau taking too many chances.
Sometimes I think we can be pushed into a corner because we have a 21st coming up, or we have a wedding or a tangi, and the weather doesn't play at our pace.
When it comes to Māori men, there are really high rates of drowning. What do you think needs to be done to reduce that?
You got to condition yourself before you go in the sea. If you haven't dived all winter or you haven't done anything, it's actually good to maybe get in a pool or just do smaller dives. That's just coming from my perspective as, somebody who goes in the surf and who dives and fishes. I just know every time we're going into the sea, we're lucky we're going into Tangaroa's domain. And I used to say to my kids all the time, I said, what's Tangaroa's favourite chocolate? Idiots.
Coming up, we look at how Māori and Te Tai Rāwhiti are re-indigenising the water.
It's like everything else that's going through in Māoridom. It's more reo being spoken, more haka being done, more Māori back on the moana.
It's an early morning start, but there's already a number of kaihoi ready to take to the water. Here in Gisborne, Waka Ama is breathing life into the waterways.
There has been a big surge of especially Māori in the water and around it or on it, under it. Yeah, and it's natural, we're in our natural element.
Kia hiaki ana te atakura, e teo, he hoka, he hauhu. Whanno, whanno, tumai te hoi, haumie, huie, pākie. Main.
Tipene Smith is joining the Māori water revival and bringing his community along with him.
Have a good one, eh?
It's 6 o'clock in the morning. They could be at home in bed or, but we're all down there. Why? Because we enjoy it and we love the camaraderie and we're on the water and it's real intense and it's huge rivalry. Yeah, so it's great.
Pete Boyd believes Waka Ama is the catalyst for Māori taking up water activities.
Because there is a perception that the moana is just a kāpata kai, but the moana is so much more than that, isn't it?
Our mum and them were of that generation. You just go and get a kai. I love her, but I beg to differ. From we have all these other wonderful activities that are being reborn now.
For Pete, there's no better feeling than being out on the water. He's most in his element when he's about to catch a wave.
Everything is just about making the drop and making that wave. And then knowing something that's travelled for thousands and thousands and thousands of kilometres and exploding. That's what our ancestors felt. Just the whole energy. You realise, you're just a speck in the bigger picture of things.
Pete works closely with Sean Havel, who represents New Zealand in stand-up paddleboard surfing.
It's great for your mental well-being and mental health, nothing else seems to matter when you're out there. Clear your mind and just have fun. feel at ease.
I guess it's a medicine for us, eh, brother? You know, it's just like, it's a medicine. Yeah, it's a medicine for me.
Sean is also one of the most experienced lifeguards at the club, and he enjoys giving back to his community.
Must be about over 20 years. Yeah. Started together at Wainui Surf Club, and yeah, advanced from there to Ngati Porou Surf Lifesaving Club.
Yeah, known Sean since he was a young.
Yep.
Hey, get up there. So yeah.
We've been doing it for years. It sort of comes second nature now, but really I enjoy doing it for the kids, just to see the young ones getting out there and enjoying the ocean like I do, and sharing any insight and tips and safety that I can with them. Yeah, that's a major benefit for me.
Both Pete and Sean are carrying on the traditions of their tupuna. There's evidence of Māori using paddleboards on the east coast in the 1800s.
There's early writings from early missionaries, a Reverend Stack on the coast, and in his writings he talked about our tipunas going out in Tangaroa. Must have been Sean's relations, or our relations, going out on stand-up paddleboards.
And they're now using these skills in their lifeguard duties.
We've been able to revive that craft and bring it back into the fold. And we use it in Hicks Bay as part of our patrolling. It's actually a rescue craft.
Yeah, the stand-up paddleboard just adds another element to it, With the paddle, you got a lot more power, so it's very handy in rescues.
During the summer months, patrolling beaches can be physically and emotionally exhausting.
You are with whānau when they do go through those moments where, people lose their lives. Does that impact on you as well?
Absolutely, absolutely. Emotionally, physically, even spiritually, So, we have those tikongas in place to be able to address that type of thing. It might be a few days later and you feel it. It's not necessarily right at the moment because the adrenaline is running and everything else, but the main thing is that we're there to help and that we can support them.
Pete might be the pōtiki of his whānau, but his sister Georgina Kirikiri says he's showing great leadership.
He must be proud of all the mahi he does.
Oh, no, we're extremely proud. And he's done a lot for the Māori community in terms of surf life saving. That's been his life forever.
Takes a special person, to be like that.
Yeah, and he's got that Māoriness about him too. That pōtiki whakarakaraka, is it? Yeah, koia.
Because for Pete, surf life-saving isn't a job. It's his way of life and of giving back to his iwi.
It's just one part of the equation. That's all it is. It's all part of this beautiful revival. We've been blessed to be part of it, and I'm so grateful that I'm able to do what I do. And, it's about respecting Tangaroa and respecting that domain.